Hello and welcome back to my scrap room. My name is Jennifer Perry and I am an independent consultant with Close to My Heart. And today we're going to be working on the cutting guide from Mistletoe Wishes. It is the cards that use the 'Tis the Season paper packs. So today we're just going to be doing the cutting and then we're going to come back in our second video and assemble everything. So with your kit you will receive gold glitter gems, candy apple, black, white, and 2 sheets of the 'Tis the Season bulk paper. You will also receive enough card bases and envelopes to do each card. So I'm going to move these out of the way, and we are going to start with the bulk paper. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the zip strips off. So we don't accidentally cut those. And for the first cut, this is considered the front. And we're going to do 5 1/4 times 4 twice. So 5 1/4, 5 1/4, this is scraps, then we're going to turn it around and do 4 inches 3 times. And then there's 3. We're doing the same with this sheet. 2, and then there's 3. This goes in your 1 pile. So for the next cut, this is considered the front, and we're going to do the exact same cut. So 5 1/4. 'This is scraps. I'm going to turn it around and do 4 inches. 2 and 3. 2 and 3. And this goes in your 2 pile. We need to take this sheet and do 1/2 inch. Okay, there's 1. We need 1 more. Okay, this is scraps. And then we're going to do 2 1/4 cut 6 times. And this is going to go in the 1 pile. So your next sheet is going to be your candy apple. And it is going to be 3 inches by 4 1/4 inch. So we're going to cut our 3 inch first. So we're going to make 3 cuts at 3. 1, 2, 3. This is scraps. Now, do you have a scrap pile that you put your scraps into? I have a scrap bucket that I use. It is basically just a little bucket that you get from the office supply stores, and I use legal size files. And I put my bucket on wheels. Some buckets lend themselves to wheels, some do not. But I have a file folder for each color. So when I get my scraps, I stick my candy apple in candy apple. I stick my blue scraps in, or my Pacifica scraps in Pacifica. I stick my black scraps in my black pile. So that I would dig my scraps out first, and I'll show you when we get to the white. I'm going to use white scraps to stamp on versus messing up a larger sheet of paper. So this is our 3 inches, and I'm going to turn it, and we're going to do 4 1/4. One, two, this one scraps, and then 1 and 2, and this one scraps. So my very first Scrap Room 2017 Scrap Room tour, this goes in your 2 pile, will show my scraps bucket at the end of the video. Now for the black, I've already done this portion, and I will throw that in just a moment. Actually, I'll throw it in whenever we do the assembly. But it is 12 2-inch squares. You may use the thin cuts, you may use any device you would like to use, whether it be a punch, whether it be thin cuts, whether it be your silhouette machine, your Cricut machine, whatever device you would like to use. You need 12 2-inch circles. I used our thin cuts. In fact, I used our stitched thin cuts. So if you happen to have those, they turned out beautiful, and I'll show you those during the assembly. Our white daisy cardstock is going to be 2 cuts at 2 1/2. And then we're going to turn it around and get 3 3/4. So there's 3 3/4. There's 3 3/4. And there's 3 3/4. This is scraps, or with this little piece being so small, I might even do it as trash. And then we're going to do it again at 3 3/4. And these go into the 2 pile. Our next cut is going to be 2 1/4, and we're going to make that cut 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then 5 inches. 1, 2. Now if you're not using scrap paper, you're going to need to save this for stamping. If you're using scrap paper for your stamping, you may go ahead and set this aside. Again with this one. And this goes in our 1 pile. Okay, now this black, for me, this is a totally extra sheet of paper because I've already done all of my cuts with my thin cuts. So I used just a piece of black paper out of my stock, so this is going to go right back into my stock. Again, this sheet right here would be used to cut your 2-inch squares, and you need 12 cuts. I'm sorry, your 2-inch circles. So let me clean the decks for a moment and we'll be right back with the assembly.